I, female 32, just completed my treatment for a medical issue that affected my body. I had gained weight due to this medical condition and also medication, and none of my old clothes fit anymore. So I bought new fitting clothes. But for my husband's birthday party, he asked me to wear one of my old dresses, one of his favorites. To appease him, I said yes, although I didn't feel comfortable wearing it, especially after the weight gain. When I arrived with my sister, he was at the restaurant with his family and friends. As soon as he saw me walking in, he busted out laughing. He pointed at the dress and was hysterical, saying, "Oh my God." I felt so incredibly mad, especially when the others started laughing as well, and one of his friends began whistling in a mocking tone. I turned around instantly and walked out, and my sister followed me. I went home and cried a little, but he kept calling nonstop. He came home and started talking about how oversensitive I was, and that it was just a natural reaction he had upon seeing me in this dress again after all this time. He said I overreacted and made a scene over nothing. He also said I ruined his birthday and urged me to get therapy for the oversensitivity I'm inflicting upon him. Am I the idiot? Did I overreact? He's so upset he refuses even to receive the gift. Edit. He first started giggling and tried to cover his mouth. Then in a matter of seconds, he busted out laughing in the middle of the restaurant. The guests were confused then. They must have understood why he was laughing, because they joined in, and his friend whistled at me mockingly while repeatedly turning his head like something caught his attention. Could it be that I overreacted? It could be just me getting overwhelmed because joking and laughing are not new to him. He's the kind to tease about anything, even with family, the kids also. He also said he was caught off guard, so I shouldn't blame him for his reaction. Not the idiot. You need therapy, that's right, but not for your oversensitivity, but for your own sake and self-esteem and emotional trauma your husband is subjecting you to. His reaction was completely unjustified. This was bound to happen. He guilted you into wearing something you weren't comfortable in, and he knew it didn't fit. He publicly humiliated you. He's blaming you and gaslighting you. He hasn't apologized. Get a divorce pronto. The easiest way to drop dead weight. Agreed. I hope he doesn't overreact when you serve this idiot with divorce papers. Have your sister present when he's served so she can point and laugh. It upset you so much that you left and cried, and he still doesn't think he did anything wrong? What? Is it possible he asked you to wear the dress specifically to laugh at you? I also can't help but wonder if this was planned. Maybe he knew she would be embarrassed like this in the dress that he picked out, and he did it on purpose to shame her into losing weight faster, post her medical treatment. You're just being too sensitive is a common defense bullies use when they're called out on their behavior. Yep, that's exactly what he did. My jaw dropped. I legitimately cannot imagine my husband even thinking of doing that. What is the point of being married to someone who thinks publicly humiliating you is a cool and normal thing to do? This whole incident feels like a tip of the iceberg thing. He'd have to be so selfish, cruel, and childish to do this, and then to attack you for it? Are there any upsides to being with this guy? It's a good thing his birthday got ruined. People who laugh at their partners instead of with their partners deserve to get their birthdays ruined. He's throwing a hissy fit because he knows he's in the wrong. People can be teasing, but from the moment that hurts someone, they should cut it out and apologize. Take the gift back and buy a nice dress that fits your current body and makes you feel beautiful and confident. Everyone deserves to feel like that. My 46 male, ex-wife 44, and I divorced when my daughter was 3. My ex later remarried and moved to a different state. I had visitation, and I tried my best to stay in my daughter's life, but eventually, she just didn't want to spend time with me. She had a good life with her mom and stepdad. I paid child support and sent gifts at Christmas and on birthdays. If she needed money for anything, I would give it. I met my current wife, 28, about 5 years ago. We were friends for a few years before she told me how she felt. We had known each other so long, our engagement was very short. We were engaged, married, and expecting our son in 1 year. My daughter's now 25 and engaged. My parents asked me about my plans for the wedding, and I didn't have any answers because I didn't know about it. I called my ex to find out what was up. She said her husband was paying for everything and would walk my daughter down the aisle. I was hurt, but I understood that my adult daughter had made a choice in her life, so I thanked her mom for making sure my parents got an invitation. Then I went back to my life. I have a newborn that needs my attention. Well, I've been hearing from her family now. Apparently, I'm the idiot who doesn't even care that I'm not invited to my daughter's wedding. That's not entirely true. I chose not to make a big deal about it because I didn't want to cause drama over a wedding. But now my ex-in-laws are all on me about not attending, and now my daughter's on social media saying I abandoned her and I'm not even trying to come because I only care about my replacement family. Am I the idiot? Edit. My daughter, her mom, and her stepdad came to my wedding. When I say I made an effort, I mean I paid for her phone so we could talk. When she got herself a new phone, she changed her number and didn't bother giving me the new number. Not the idiot. Not inviting someone to your wedding as attention-seeking behavior is a great way to end a relationship ultimately, and it sounds like it was pretty dead already. I guess she probably wanted you to put up a fight, demand that you be invited, and scream and cry to the universe that it wasn't fair you were separated from your daughter. She just doesn't understand that you've already been through that when you were first cut out of her life by your own choice. You instead did the adult thing and chose to respect her decision at face value. She played a child's game with an adult who didn't get to spend time with his child. No wonder you didn't play the way she wanted. You know, OP, this is interesting because on the surface you aren't at fault here, but this is so much more loaded than a wedding invite. This is your child, and she's felt like you've given up on her for a long time. I think she's waiting for you to fight for her love and demand her attention. The fact that you're so matter-of-fact and indifferent towards your relationship must break her heart. Listen to what she's saying. She feels abandoned by you. You also didn't stop considering that you married someone who's virtually her age and are starting a new family. That's tough for any child, but to think that she'll likely have a child of her own and a sibling so close in age as well, unsettling. Everyone's the idiot here. The point here is that you aren't even close enough to your daughter to know she's getting married. She's also the idiot for turning her wedding invites into a test of your attention, but she quickly found out that you don't pay attention to her. I think a lot is missing here. I'm leaning toward you are the idiot, OP. You have a daughter and don't consider her to be a part of your life. You imply this is all her doing, but she was a child when you and your ex divorced. As an adult and a parent, you had a responsibility here. My fiance, 29 female, and me, 34 male, are getting married in 2 weeks after 13 years of friendship and 4 years of dating. She's fantastic, and our relationship has been good so far for both of us. Planning the wedding has been uncomplicated and fun. We included my mother a lot. For example, my fiance took her dress shopping. The reason is that my fiance has always had a good relationship with my parents, and it grew much closer over the past year after her mother died. They kind of see her as another child, and I know that fiance appreciates that immensely. As for my fiance's father, she went no contact when she was 15. Even before, he hadn't played an important role in her life. His behavior was one cause of her depression and low self-esteem. It took her years to heal. She's happy with the way things are now. I've never met the man, so neither of us considered inviting him to the wedding. My mother, however, won't understand why we won't invite him. Mom is a retired psychologist. She's had some experience with children-parent reunification, and she thinks my fiance needs this even more after my fiance's mom's death. Fiance and I both have shut my mom down plenty of times. We made it clear that this man would not know anything about my fiance's life, nor would he be welcome anywhere near the wedding. So for a while, my mom shut up. My mom doesn't know my fiance's father. The other night we had dinner with my family. My mom had an announcement. She looked my fiance's father up and went to see him. Then she invited him to our wedding. She seemed so pleased. My family was appalled and angry. They all knew what had happened. My fiance somehow remained calm and told my mom how inappropriate that was, how my mom hurt my fiance terribly by stepping over the one boundary she ever had, and how fiance had lost all her trust in mom after this. I then uninvited my mom and we left. Fiance only broke down at home. My mother's also been inconsolable since and called me dozens of times, but I haven't picked up yet. Fiance feels unsafe about having the wedding if there's a chance that her father might show up. We might just cancel the whole thing. My father, who's not condoning my mother's actions, thinks I should just talk to mom and hear her out. My siblings agree that uninviting her was too drastic. I just see the distress my mother had caused my fiance and get angry all over again. So am I the idiot for sticking to this decision? Not the idiot. She may be a retired psychologist, but she showed the emotional intelligence of soggy bread. Cancel the wedding and go and elope instead. That kind of betrayal would be enough for me to consider going no contact with my mom. It wasn't just a small mistake or an oversight. It was a deliberate action to trample boundaries and to push an agenda that you made very clear you and your fiance had no desire to pursue. As a retired psychologist, your mother should have known better than anyone just how damaging her actions would be to your fiance and any existing relationship between her and yourself. I agree that you should elope. You can tell your mother that she turned the idea of the whole wedding into a nightmare situation for both of you, and that you guys are just going to get married and repair the damage and your sense of safety now. Tell her you'll be open to her apologies, perhaps in a few months or years, but that she needs to sit tight. What do people expect from stunts like this? And even if your mom is a psychologist, is she your fiance's psychologist? What kind of psychologist would do this to a patient? I'd stick to the uninvitation if she thinks she can wreak havoc knowingly, and tell her that she can be glad to be uninvited from your wedding and not your whole life. Horrible behavior right there. Update. Thank you all for your advice and perspective. I met my dad earlier. He's sorry for what my mom did and how he'd first pushed me to listen to her. I told him that my fiance was the person hurt in this, that it was really up to her. Dad did offer to cover any additional costs we might have now. Both siblings called individually to apologize to my fiance as well. I don't know what to make of it just now, but it's a good start, I think. I haven't talked to mom though. Also, my fiance's brother-in-law had a good idea regarding the wedding. We might do it earlier. That way, we'd at least keep the venue. We're still figuring details out, but it might work. I, 27 female, have a very young stepdaughter, Becca, with my husband, Kevin, 30. He has a 50-50 parenting plan with his ex, Wendy, 32 female. I've been in Becca's life since she was a baby, and no, I was not an affair partner. They mutually chose to split up long before I met him. His ex is super high conflict, tries to keep me from spending any bonding time with Becca, and just is constantly harassing my husband and me and his family members. That's in the process of being handled in court. Basically, she's nice when she needs something, and we try to all work together for Wendy, and she's insane when we disagree on something, or just randomly when she feels like being crazy. You really never know when she's gonna lose it. Well, Wendy got her car repoed, and she's been out of a car for a while, taking lifts when she can and getting rides from people. Well, her week came up, and she had no one available to give her a ride to pick up Becca from school, so she called me. I'm currently pregnant, and the last thing I want to do is interact with her. She just recently emailed my mother, asking her to talk to me and tell me to stay out of parenting business so she can raise her daughter properly. Insane. She didn't even know my mom, so she searched the internet for her info. She asked if I'd be willing to drop Becca off to her, and I said no. She tried being nice and begging, but I said no. My husband was working, so he couldn't do it. I picked up Becca and brought her to our house, and Wendy wasn't able to pick her up until 3 days later. My husband said that's her problem, and if she doesn't have the means to even pick her up from school, she has no right to treat me and him the way she has and expects me to help her. On the other hand, my friend is a single mom, and she told me that's not how you co-parent, and I or my husband should have put aside our differences to let Becca see her mom. Becca didn't care and was happy to stay with us. She could also call and speak with her mom whenever she wanted, which she didn't, and her mom never called to speak to her. I don't know. I'm not a bio mom yet. I will be soon. So maybe I'm missing the mark. Wendy's obviously angry and is accusing us of alienation. The paragraphs and calls are nonstop. Co-parenting is tough. Am I the idiot? Heck, if she could track down your mom, I'm surprised she didn't just ask your mother to pick her up or drop your daughter off. Instead, she just complained about you. You're right, it is insane. You are not the idiot. I'm not a parent or even a step-parent, but I can see this. The most important fact for me boils down to this. If she couldn't even drive to pick her up or get someone else to do it for her, what would she do if this was an emergency and Becca needed to go to the hospital? Sometimes ambulances take too long. Sometimes parents can lose full custody because they have no transportation method to see to a child's needs. You are the idiot. I think it's extremely short-sighted of you. You're currently in court to modify the custody agreement. If you have a 50-50 arrangement and you're not facilitating visitation, that could look really bad in court. Wendy could easily argue that you're preventing her from seeing her daughter. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I think this could look bad in court. I'd encourage you to keep your eye on the long-term goal. No. People can't expect to be rude and have benefits. You can't have it both ways. Stay out of parenting and do parent things for me. OP, you've been told to stay out of parenting. Picking up and dropping off is a parenting decision, unless the parents designate a proxy. Your husband has said no, and as the custodial parent in your home, his word is the final one. You've done nothing wrong. Stay as far away from the impending explosion as you can. You're pregnant and don't need the stress. In my husband's family, there's a necklace passed down to the eldest son's wife after she has their first child. My husband is his father's only biological son, but he has an elder stepbrother his father adopted. In the last few years, there's been tension between my husband and his stepbrother because his grandfather has pulled rank to ensure my husband gets his birthright. It's made things awkward for me as a stepbrother's married to my best friend. My best friend gave birth to their first child 7 months ago, and there's been nonstop drama over this necklace, as technically it should have gone to her, and it was supposed to until everybody found out I was pregnant too. The drama had hurt my relationship with my best friend, which is partly why I rejected the necklace when my father-in-law tried to give it to me. I knew my husband wanted me to accept it, and he's upset that I won't. It's causing even more drama with my in-laws because everybody's still fighting over this necklace. My husband told me it would have been over if I had just accepted it, but now I'd hurt him and his family by rejecting it. Am I the idiot? This seems like an impossible situation where someone sees you as an idiot no matter your choice. It's pretty clear that this would not be over even if you'd accepted it. Making the two of you scapegoats for their infighting isn't fair at all. Not the idiot, OP, but they're the idiots for dragging you into this. You are the idiot. First, for picking your bestie over your husband. You're married. Therefore, a team, a united front. I'm guessing your father-in-law had your husband as his son first, as you stated your brother-in-law was adopted. Family heirlooms are supposed to pass on to bloodlines, not random people who are added to the family in other means. This means the husband's entitled to have the necklace. Sorry. The question is, who do you love the most? Your husband, with whom you took vows, or your best friend? Are you willing to lose a marriage over something you can't control? Both OP and besties should reject the necklace. Take back control of the situation by telling those men no piece of jewelry is worth the value they place on their friendship. And someone seriously needs to ask father-in-law why he even bothered adopting the stepbrother if he wasn't going to treat him like his actual son. Honestly, it's silly for there to be so much tension over an old trinket.